So good morning, distinguished guests and speakers, ladies and gentlemen who joined the webinar through YouTube channel. Thank you to Siamio Cecep for the invite. So today I would like to talk a little bit more on how COVID-19 perpetuates inequity in the ECEC and also to discuss some lessons learned we can take from the situation. I would start my presentation by showing a quote from UNDP. The quote states that COVID-19, without any doubt, has become a magnifying glass for inequality. So in this presentation, I would like to talk at least 4 areas in the ECEC that are affected by this inequity. The first inequity that I would like to talk about is the inequity between ECEC center. For those of you who are not familiar with Indonesia, just to give a bit of an overview, Indonesia is a very enormous and also diverse country. For the past 10 years, it has enjoyed rapid economic development, but at the same time, there is also a huge discrepancy between low middle class family and also middle upper class family. Now, the situation, the inequity is also affecting ECEC in Indonesia. ECEC in Indonesia itself is a very complex field, but to simplify our discussion, I would just talk about the distinction between ECEC in Indonesia in the rural and urban area, and also ECEC in the formal and also non-formal sectors. So in general, the inequity of the ECEC during this pandemic time can be seen at least in the 3 aspects. The first one, ECEC in the rural area, they tend to have minimum access or no access at all sometimes to the internet. Then it creates difficulties on how to translate online learning as become the dominant discourse during this pandemic time. And also the second one is the instability of the workforce, which is mostly, and it's related to the third factor, which is the instability of economic capital. So the instability of the workforces is mostly because of the instability of the center's economic capital. As probably in any other countries, most of the ECEC in Indonesia is run by private and also volunteerism. So they rely mostly on the parents' tuition fee. So hence, closing the ECEC center would be limited funding, and the teachers can subject to retrenchment without any notice. Now, the second inequity can be seen in the teachers. ECEC teachers, I think all over the globe, are considered to be one of the most fragile profession in the society because of their low status as well as their low salary. So a survey done by Integrated Holistic National PAUD Coalition in 2020 has also illuminated further the inequity between teachers in the rural and in the urban area, where the teachers in the rural area, they are very much affected by this pandemic. Their salary are being cut, and even some of them do not receive any salary at all during this pandemic time due to the closure of ECEC center. So another issue faced by the ECEC in this pandemic time is the invisibility of care and also play. I think there are at least 2 most important questions that we need to discuss during this pandemic time. The first one is that how can we translate care in the predominantly online mode of learning during the pandemic? As we all know that in the early childhood education, care plays a very important role, that the attention, the affection given by the teachers are as much as equal as any other form of stimulation. At the same time, we also notice that care becomes very much invisible because of the pressure to do online learning, but at the same time, it also becomes visible because of the difficulties to translate care in the online learning. Many parents, many teachers, they are now starting to discuss about what is ECE really mean, for example. Now, and the last issue that I would like to mention is related with parenting. Without any doubt, parents are highly affected with this pandemic. And as Dr. Sheldon explained earlier, for example, the situation is in fact worse for parents from vulnerable background. However, if you look at the dominant discourse disseminated in the media, for example, most of the discourses are targeted to parents from middle upper class background. So the issue is how to raise your children during this COVID time, how to negotiate between working and also taking care of your children. And to some extent, the discourse disseminated in the media seems to be detached from the reality. While the reality, for example, in Indonesia, most of the parents are coming from million are coming from informal worker sectors. Here, the data from the Statistic Indonesia, for example, state that around 55.72% of Indonesian workers are actually work in the informal sectors. And by informal sectors, I mean as a kind of worker that requires to go work on a daily basis. They are being paid on a daily wages. So if they are not going outside, if they are not working outside, then it will mean that they will have their salary be affected. And very often the discourse disseminated in the media do not target those parents. But COVID-19 does not only tell stories about struggle. I think it also talk about possibilities. So during this pandemic, we see different form of resilience from the teachers, from the center itself, and also from the parents, for example. Here, for example, there are two news that go viral. It tells the story about the teachers who go extra mile to amidst all the difficulties to do online learning. They are still trying their best to reach out to the children, mostly from the marginalized background, and teach them. So there will be issue about that this teacher seems to not implement the physical distancing, but at the same time, it shows a kind of resilience teacher possess. And also, the COVID-19 also illuminates new ways of developing teachers' professional development. So in my department, for example, Department of Early Childhood Education at Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, we conduct a weekly webinar. And the webinar reaches teachers in the rural areas, for example. So I was informed by one of the teachers, for example, that they collect money together to pay for the internet data, and then they went to the village hall, and then they set up an focus and watch the webinar together. So I think this illuminates how the online learning to some extent has allowed more teachers to gain knowledge with relatively low cost. So I think this shows both the resilience and also new ways to build teacher professional development. And also I think because there has been a discussion, a struggle among parents on how to translate care, how to translate play in their home environment. So I think we also noticed an emerge of new ways of partnership between parents and teachers. So to conclude my presentation, I would like to mention at least 4 things. The first one, I think COVID-19 should become an opportunity for us to address inequity in ECEC. So inequity should not be concealed. Inequity should not be hidden. It should be discussed. And by discussing inequity, then we have an opportunity to address and also to overcome those inequity. And also COVID-19 has become a window to address the needs to improve schools' economic capital. Now, Indonesian government, they have initiative, for example, in terms of POP, the school operational budget. And I think we need to discuss to what extent we can improve the budget in order to reach more schools and also to improve the school's economic capital. And I think COVID-19 also, talk about an opportunity to pay attention to parents' cultural and also social capital. This may open up a discussion to have a gender-sensitive caring policy, like the ones adopted in most of the Scandinavian countries, in addition to the parenting program. Because very often the difficulties faced by the parents, it's not so much on how to raise the children, but how to navigate between their economic life and also their parenting duties. And finally, COVID-19 should become a moment to redefine the notion of early care. Care should become something which is very essential, which is very fundamental in the ECEC, and I think this is our time to really bring care into the center. So thank you very much, and I look forward for the discussion among us.